The fourth and last proposed human rights, psychological continuity.
Right. Well, this can basically be interpreted as a subset of mental integrity. And that's a subset of mental integrity that is focused on a personal identity. So psychological continuity is also a concept that is deeply rooted in philosophical discussions. Famous philosopher Derek Parfit used this language to basically refer to his theory of personal identity. So the right to psychological continuity should be designed to basically preserve people's personal identity and the continuity of their mental life from unconsented external alteration. So, you know, what makes us the same person throughout life? What is it in your view? Why do you think that you are the same person now than you were two years ago, or even half an hour ago?
Right. So I've practiced a lot of mindfulness, and I've read a lot about mindfulness, and core to that philosophy is the concept of no self. Are you familiar with that? Yeah. So I don't personally really believe that there is any lasting me. But I guess the feeling of me is created in social situations, I'd say.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, that's exactly the reason why I was asking you this question, because if you want to have, you know, a purely reductionist approach, and then you say, well, I am still myself because I have the exactly the same neural circuits and exactly the same neurons that I had 10 years ago. That's a very bad answer, because that's to a large extent empirically false. You know, neural circuits change. You know, basic neurobiology doesn't give us a good argument in favor of considering ourselves as the same persons as before. What we call psychological continuity is way more linked to our personal beliefs, right? So we tend to have a certain degree of continuity in the beliefs we hold, which doesn't mean that we don't change our beliefs. It doesn't mean that we don't change our mental states. We do that all the time, but we try to do that in a consistent manner. And when we do change our beliefs, we tend to be aware of that change and consider that modification in our system of beliefs as part of our identity. But if, you know, every second I would have a different belief in relation to literally anything, then I would hardly consider myself as a subject of personal identity, of something that can be defined personal identity. So that's why we think that people should have this right to psychological continuity, which should prevent this unconsented external alterations. You know, the word unconsented is very important, because we change our mental states very often, even as a consequence of very simple chemical stimuli. If I drink coffee, I increase my alert, attention, and concentration spans. If I drink alcohol, I tend to engage in types of behavior that I wouldn't engage in if I'm sober. But what is important? So you cannot prevent alterations of psychological continuity per se, but we can prevent unconsented alterations of psychological continuity. So to stay with the alcohol analogy, it's fine if you want to, you know, drink alcohol, but it's not fine if someone just puts alcohol in your glass without your consent. Just tells you, oh, here's water, and then it's actually vodka, and then you drink it, because then you haven't freely chosen the consequences of that action. So the same applies to neurotechnology. If you want to use a certain neural device to change to alter your cognitive or emotional processes. Imagine that, you know, in 20 years from now, we have neurotechnologies that can make you significantly more alert, or even, you know, more social. And then you want to do that, you know, I think you should have the right to do so, provided that there is no unconsented alteration
Right.
by third parties. So the right to psychological continuity, it's both a sub-right of the right to mental integrity and the right to cognitive liberty.
Hmm. So psychological continuation is really the right to not have external third parties that are human or corporations alter your mental state, your psychological state rather.
Humans, corporations, or algorithms. It doesn't have to be necessarily, you know, another agent. It doesn't have to be another human or group of humans. You know, in the so-called closed-loop brain-computer interfaces, you have embedded AI algorithms that automatically self-calibrate. And there are scenarios where this AIs can actually have a substantial impact in the behavioral outputs that you produce as a BCI user. And in those circumstances, it's unclear whether the final action is the one that you originally intended, or if your decision making is sort of being hijacked by the automated algorithmic components.
Right.
This is something very relevant to a class of brain-computer interfaces called neuroadaptive brain-computer interfaces. And this is also something that would fall under this category, not necessarily, you know, sort of neurocriminal scenarios where another actor, another person takes control, but also scenarios where you have AI algorithms that malfunction or that override the signal generated by the human agent, and so on.
Right. I suspect that it may be hard to draw the line of what external factors should be included in this, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what the law is all about, right? It's about defining circumstances and requirement and specifying cases. So, you know, this is what we provide is a general ethical legal framework, but it's not the end of the story. Then a lot of work needs to be done,